If you're growing and scaling your business, but constantly feeling overwhelmed, you feel like you're doing all the work, but other people aren't really respecting you. You feel like you're the one always showing up. You feel like you're having to save people, pull them up. The problem isn't your strategy. It's your inability to say no and mean it and stand up for yourself. I'm Luke Alling, former growth partner at seven-figure company, host of the Top 2% podcast, Happy Positive Energy Game, and I help entrepreneurs stop self-sabotaging through my NeuroProductivity method. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to break the people-pleasing cycle that's actually destroying your business and mental health. So let's talk real numbers. People-pleasing isn't just an annoying personality trait. It's an expensive business liability. I recently worked with a client who had 22 backlogged projects. Some he took on at literally 0% profit because he wanted to help people out. And when we calculated the cost of this, it was shocking. Every undercharged project was costing him an average of $5,000 in lost revenue. Multiply that by 22 projects, he's leaving $110K on the table every single month. But the financial impact is just the surface. The real cost is your mental bandwidth, because every time you say yes when you actually mean no, you're creating an energy leak in your business. Your brain has limited decision-making capacity each day. You've probably about 200 high-quality decisions that you can make. And Naval Ravikant says in the Almanac of Naval Ravikant that we have around 35,000 decisions a day. So if you think about your boundary violations, how many more concurrent compounding decisions are you then making from there that feel unaligned? So when you take on that extra client call that runs 30 minutes over, when you respond to messages at 11 p.m., when you decide not to get up on time, when you decide to bring on a client that isn't in alignment with you, or you accept the client's demands for something that you don't deliver, or you accept the client's demands to do things a certain way, even though you know for a fact it works out better if you deliver it in another way, you're literally draining your brain's capacity to make strategic decisions that will actually grow your business. And here's the worst part. It's not about being nice. The root cause is much, much deeper. In my FIRE framework for self-sabotage, people-pleasing usually stems from invisible rules, which are unconscious beliefs you formed in childhood about your worthiness and about safety and about what you deserve. So for most high-achieving entrepreneurs, your nervous system is in this place, and it was rewired to equate external validation with safety. As a child, you might have learned that keeping others happy, especially authority figures, meant you were good and deserving of love. Saying no feels dangerous. Setting boundaries means impossible rejection, especially if you're higher up on the ADHD spectrum. You have an even stronger sense of fear of rejection, fear of things not working out. And that's why even now, as a successful business owner or a founder, you might physically feel uncomfortable when setting boundaries. Sweating palms, racing heart, not in your stomach. It's not weakness, it's your nervous system firing a warning signal based on outdated programming. And think of it like this. If you have business partners, if you have team members, and things aren't going the way that you want them to, and you're not reaching a failure point, which is a conversation that needs to be had in order to have a solution, you're perpetuating a loop over and over and over again. Think about the problems that occur in your life right now. How many of them are from conversations you're unwilling to have, from boundaries you're unwilling to set, from times where you're not standing up for yourself and your vision? Even with yourself, you may be accepting low standards as a form of people pleasing with yourself, with your past self. You're saying, oh, it's okay. I don't need to do that today. Oh, I can do that later. Unacceptable. Now, you think that you have if you think you have problems with people pleasing, let me tell you about a business owner who went 60K in a negative in his first month because he couldn't say no to scope creep. So every client that this guy brought on became a yes. Every deadline extension granted, every discount approved, all because he feared. If you think you have problems with people pleasing, this business owner I was talking about earlier had 60K negative in his first month because he couldn't say no to scope creep. So for example, when we had our discovery conversation about whether he was going to be in alignment with working with us or not, I said to him like, hey, how much do you earn last month? He was like 180K. I was like, okay, cool. And how much of that went out? And he's like, yeah, well, that's the problem. We have about 240K of outgo. And I was like, fuck me. 60K in a negative, which equates to what? 720K a year, because he wasn't setting boundaries. So every deadline extension granted, every discount approved, all because he feared disappointing people more than he feared bankruptcy. And this isn't random. In my FIRE concept for self-sabotage, people pleasing is primarily driven by invisible laws, which is the unconscious commandments you follow without even realizing they exist. It might sound like, if I disappoint someone, they'll abandon me. If I have this conversation with my business partner or this team member, they're going to leave. My value comes from helping others, regardless of the cost to me. Nice guys finish last. Good people finish last. Setting boundaries means I'm selfish. Others' needs matter more than mine. It might even be a little bit of resistance to change, where you already feel comfortable being walked over because that's what's being familiar. You feel uncomfortable setting boundaries and not people pleasing. And these aren't just conscious thoughts. They're operating systems running in your subconscious, which are driving your decisions before you even realize it. Because it starts with thoughts, feelings, actions, results. That's how your mind works. And where does this come from? Typically childhood. If you grew up in an environment where your worth was tied to being helpful, accommodating, on accomplishment, or the good child, your nervous system literally wired itself to feel unsafe when you prioritize yourself. And that's why when you try to set a boundary with a client, you might physically feel sick. Your body releases cortisol and adrenaline, triggering your fight or flight response. Your palms are sweaty, your heart's racing, your throat tightens. It's not just weakness, it's just basic neurobiology. And that's why standard business advice like, oh, just charge more or just say no, doesn't work for people who people please. You're fighting against decades of neurobiological programming that equates boundaries with danger. But here's the good news. There's always a way to fix it. And it starts with understanding exactly how to reprogram these rules, these thoughts, using neuroproductivity techniques that work with your brain chemistry, not against it. Building systems that work for you, not against it. So how do we break free from this actual invisible prison of people pleasing? Well, within my neuroproductivity method, the tap was both deep inner work and strategic execution simultaneously. Let's analyze your energy. So the first thing that I want you to do is pull out a piece of paper right now and draw 2 columns. And in the left-hand column, you're going to write down every business interaction that drains your energy. The client calls that leave you exhausted, the projects you resent, the tasks that you procrastinate, the conversations you're unwilling to have with business partners, team members. And in the right column, you're going to list the ones that energize you. And what you'll notice is this pattern. And the energy draining activities almost always involve boundary violations. It's not a coincidence. It's your body's wisdom telling you where the invisible rules are hurting your business. So what we need to be doing is actually creating a right filter for the right clients, a right filter for the right interactions. So for example, the clients who drain you likely share common red flags that you've been programmed to ignore. Maybe they consistently ask for just one more thing, or text or call outside of business hours, or expect immediate responses, or negotiate on price after agreeing, or miss deadlines but expect you to meet yours. And when you spot these patterns, we can create what we call basically a boundary blueprint, which is a clear system for identifying and filtering out clients who will violate your boundaries before they even enter your business. What that looks like for me and for my clients internally is creating a red flags list and a green flags list for their clients. And yeah, we've got the tangibility, like, age, demographics, how much revenue are they making or not making, but also you've got the intangibles as well. So for me, like, an intangible characteristic is you have to be an action taker. If I give you stuff to do, you have to take action. 2 is you have to take responsibility. Like, you can't put all of the energy on me to get you the result. I will give you the rope and I'll pull it up if you grab it, but you can't just go and hide away and put your head in the sand. That's not going to work either. Another intangible one for me is you have to be soul-led and be working towards a bigger vision. I think whether you want to have material wealth or spiritual wealth, it's cool, but I believe when you blend the 2 of them is when you really give back to the world, is when you have an impact and you can allow the money that is constantly circulating to go to good causes. I also believe another intangible is you have to be able to do things outside of yourself. It can't just be about you. Another intangible is like actually being able to drop ego and admit that you need help. If you guys are watching this YouTube video, it's because you need help. You're experiencing this issue. If you can't surrender with that, then cool, keep trying to do it by yourself. But how far has that got you? So those are some examples of intangibles. Next, we need to master the SPIC communication framework for those crucial conversations. And this is where most people pleasers fall apart. They either avoid the conversation entirely or fumble through it apologetically. Now, SPIC stands for situation, so the specific context. We've got behavior, which is the observable action. And then we've got impact the effect that it has. And that can be impact that it has on you. It can be impact on your working relationship. It could be the impact that it's having on the business as a whole, or the wider impact on the people. So there's many different impacts that it can have. You're going to want to choose one. And then you've got coaching, which is the collaborative solution. So here's what it sounds like in practice. Instead of saying, sorry, I can't do that extra work, you say, hey, when last minute revisions come in after we finalize the project situation and I'm asked to complete them within 24 hours, behavior, it impacts my ability to deliver quality work and serve my other clients effectively. Impact. How can we establish a revision process that works better for both of us? Coaching. I can tell you right now, if you knew how to communicate better, you wouldn't have 90% of the problems that you have. Every working relationship that you have is founded on communication, but we haven't been taught on communication. It's not your fault that you haven't been taught it, but you are the solution to this. You need to learn how to communicate better. That's what we do within iTalk. And like, do you notice the difference? Like, you're not apologizing. You're not making it about your feelings. You're objectively stating facts and inviting collaboration. And this framework is powerful because it bypasses the emotional triggers that activate your people-pleasing tendencies. It feels safe to your nervous system because you're not projecting the person, you're addressing a specific behavior. And lastly, like, we need to place these boundaries in your client agreements from day one. Like, most people pleasers make the mistake of trying to establish boundaries after patterns are already set. By then, it's pretty much too late. Your onboarding process must clearly communicate your working hours, your response time expectations, scope change procedures, late payment consequences, project timelines, and deadlines. When these aren't presented, people just take you for a person. They don't respect you as a business owner. And it's the same with team members. Team members need to have clear KPIs, clear outlines, clear milestones to be achieved, because you need to run your business like a business. This isn't a hobby anymore. Like, you need to actually build this. Like, take this fucking seriously. Like, you're doing this for a reason, right? You're doing this because you want to probably help a lot of people. Can you imagine the difference it would make if you actually showed up? Can you imagine how many more people would respect you? Can you imagine the impact that that would have? Compounding. Can you imagine how much more freedom you would have now that you demand for your time to be honored and you respect your time as yourself? And can you imagine the amount of higher quality relationships you attract into your life, the higher quality level of clients, the more premium prices you can charge? Everything gets better when you stop being a people pleaser. And I know, because I was a people pleaser. Growing up, I would just go and hang out with people that just bullied me, destroy my mental health, because I was seeking approval from people that weren't ever going to give it. And like, that's part of my upbringing, but that's okay. Like, I'm also the solution. That's why I do what I do. But you also got to take stand for yourself. So listening in, now for some tough love, I want to ask you 3 questions and be brutally honest. Are you really running a business, or just an expensive hobby that serves everyone but you? And how many hours each week do you dread spending time in client interactions because you know they'll push your boundaries and you'll let them, or with business partners, or with team members? And if your rates double tomorrow, which clients would you be secretly relieved to lose? I want to tell you about another client of mine who just hit 100K a month. Congratulations.
Yeah, we hit 100K in Rev.
Let's go, bro.
I'm not the same guy that I was when we first started this.
A few months ago, he was stuck at 35K because of his people-pleasing tendencies. So he was collaborating with an AI development agency to build systems crucial for his scale, building out his back-end operations. Now, the agency missed 5 deadlines in a row, which cost him weeks of progress and tens of thousands in potential revenue. But instead of addressing it directly, he kept making justifications for that, which is rearranging his entire business around their incompetence, which is like, oh, you know, it's okay. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. Oh, I'm going to be the nice guy. I'm going to trust that things are getting done, because he was terrified of being perceived as being difficult. And if we look at the high performance brain funnel that I've developed, right here at the bottom is what I call the identity and alignment mechanism. And this is where people pleasing truly destroys your business, because it erodes the core foundation of leadership, which is trust. It's trust. And here's the paradox most people in this situation miss. When you constantly accommodate others at your own expense, they don't respect you. They respect you less. Your team stops trusting your leadership because your words and actions aren't in alignment. Your clients stop valuing your time because you've taught them infinitely flexible. And you stop trusting yourself because you know you'll cave under pressure. Now, let me be crystal clear. People pleasing isn't kindness. It's fear masquerading as a service. And if you're not willing to change this pattern, you might as well assign yourself 1,000 burpees every time you fail to enforce a boundary. At least then you'd actually physically get stronger while your business deteriorates. And that sounds extreme, but is it really more extreme than sacrificing your business, your mental health, and your financial future just to avoid an uncomfortable conversation? I had a conversation with someone just now. I met her back in October, November, and she was having some issues with her business partner not showing up, not doing the work, and she was making justifications for her business partner, which were her business partner's excuses. Excuses are always the best to the people that make them. And then they try and sell everyone else on their life on why they can't fucking do something. Oh, I've got friends, I've got a lot going on in life, and I've got a kid, and it's like, okay, cool, but we worked out, like, this business owner wanted to, and ideally 3 months from now, make 8 to 10K a month. Over the course of the year, that's 96K to 120K. And I knew her, and she was having the same problems in October, November when we met, and we just met. Is now April. She's still got the same issue going on, except that's 4 or 5 months down the line. So that's at least 40K lost in revenue, let alone even the compound of that, let alone the lack of belief, lack of self-trust that gets built as you don't move forward on your mission. The people that aren't impacted by you expanding your service. It's intense, but you need to decide, like, are you willing to let this settle? Are you willing to have this keep happening? And if this is hitting a nerve, I've actually got a detailed video about how I spent over 100K on coaching to overcome these patterns, and it shows exactly how I transformed from a people pleaser to someone who's running a thriving business with clear boundaries. So if that sounds like it's in alignment with you, I would recommend that you go check it out after this video. It's free. It might be actually what you need to break this cycle. But let's get into the practical implementation steps that you can start taking today. So your roadmap to breaking free from people pleasing, implementable actions that you can actually take immediately, is first, let's map out the boundary conversations you need to have. So take out a piece of paper and create 3 columns. In column 1, we're going to list the clients or team members where you've been over-delivering or allowing boundary violations. Column 2 is you're going to write the specific boundary that needs setting, whether it's payment terms, communication hours, how much work you can actually take on or not, or otherwise known as scope limitations. And in column 3, note what's at stake if you don't have this conversation, and be specific. Costs, 2K a month, or 10 hours of wasted time a week, or mental bandwidth for strategic growth, or fuckloads of stress. And this creates clarity and urgency. When you see that avoiding a 5-minute conversation is costing you 5K, 10K, 20K, 50K a month, the equation changes. And let's then craft these conversations using the SPIC framework that's proven has been most effective for business leaders. So situation, when project requests come in outside of agreed scope or agreed terms or agreed expectations, behavior, and I'm asked to complete them without adjusting our timeline or compensation impact, it affects my ability to deliver quality work, serve the clients, and maintain sustainable business practices. Coaching. How might we structure a process for handling scope changes that works for both of us? It's so key that you do it this way, because you've either got it one way where you're apologizing, like, oh, sorry, I can't do this. Or you go the other way, you do it for so long that you blow up and then you destroy your client relationship. That's not going to work either. So you need to do this framework so that you can actually coach somebody through the role of respecting you more. So here's another example for those maybe like late paying clients. Hey, situation, when invoices go unpaid beyond our 15-day terms, behavior, and work continues without addressing the outstanding balance, impact. It creates cash flow issues that affect my ability to serve all clients effectively. Coaching. Would it be helpful to set up automatic payments, or would you prefer a different system to ensure timely processing? So that's done. Now, what we want to do is set your client filter, who you work with or don't work with. And this is crucial because the best boundary is the one that you can set before somebody even enters your business. So whether you're a service provider or wherever you're at, this is going to be key. And your filter should include clear payment terms with non-negotiable late fees, defined communication hours and response times, project scope parameters or change request procedures, meeting scheduling protocols, consequences for boundary violations. It may even be, like I said earlier, the red and green flags of who you do and don't work with. And include this in your onboarding documents, in your onboarding process. And this is critical. You must verbally review them with new clients. People pleasers often hide behind documents to avoid an uncomfortable conversation. But when a client signs with you, schedule a 15-minute expectations call, or at least give them an expectations video and then get them to ping you a message once they've completed it. And that way, this accomplishes 2 things. It tests their respect for you for boundaries from day one and gives you an opportunity to set boundaries early on. It forces you to practice articulating your needs. I'm sure you can recognize in even romantic relationship conversations, if you let somebody start walking all over you from the start, how's the rest of the relationship going to go? You can't just be like, oh, I'm going to keep people pleasing and hope that they change. No, stop that. You are diminishing your self-worth. And for existing clients where patterns have already been established, you'll need to have a reset conversation. Start with appreciation, like, hey, I value our working relationship, which is why I want to ensure it remains sustainable and productive for both of us. I've noticed some patterns in our work together that I'd like to adjust to better serve you. And then introduce your updated terms using the SPIC framework. And remember, you are not asking for permission to have boundaries. You are informing them of how you operate. The right clients will respect this. The wrong ones will reveal themselves and save you months of frustration. Now, I know there's probably some fear screaming in your head right now, like, oh, if I set boundaries, I'll lose clients, or I'll lose team members, or I'll lose my relationships, I'll lose all my friends around me. Whatever that is, this fear stems from something deeper. Often, the fear of abandonment, the child within you, equates disappointing others with being left alone. But here's the reality check your adult self needs. Clients, people, relationships who leave you because you set healthy boundaries were never going to be a part of your long-term success anywhere. And look at it like this, like you're on a bus right now, you're a coach, and not everybody is going to get to the end destination that you're going to. They're going to hop on and off the coach at times. And this was something that one of my mentors that was doing $1 million a month taught me. It's like, if people hop on and off of the bus, that's where you just got to detach. And we just had a conversation with another client who went from 0 to 55K in 2 months. And we just literally had the testimonial, which you can check out on my YouTube video. It's going to be a link down below as well. And in her words, she just said, like, I don't work with people I don't like. And let me be crystal clear. Boundary violating clients are not just energy vampires or team members or friends or whatever. They're business killers. They prevent you from creating the space for ideal people in your life who would gladly help you along the way, who would gladly pay premium rates for expertise, who would gladly work harder than the other people that aren't working. And this is why my client who just hit 100K a month saw such dramatic growth. Because when he finally addressed his people-pleasing tendencies, he didn't just have a firm conversation with the AI agency that kept missing deadlines, he fired them completely. And this decisive action, something he'd been avoiding for months out of fear of conflict, changed everything. So instead of continuing to accommodate mediocrity, he then attracted a developer with 20 years of experience instead of a complete newbie. Because here's the thing, your business is going to have failure points, and you need to reach those failure points as fast as possible. You can't avoid them. Avoiding them is what's holding you back. Being in the avoidance by being a people pleaser is what's keeping you stuck. You need to hit these failure points, these conversations, these whatever, these misalignments as fast as possible so that stuff doesn't get delayed. And the result is he went from 60K to 100K a month very quickly. Why? Because he could finally trust the process rather than constantly waiting on the delays of others. He could bring his part of the business to the next stage instead of being perpetually stuck in development hell. And this isn't just a personal change. It's not just a personnel change. It's an identity shift. He stopped being somebody who accommodates incompetence and started being someone who expects excellence. And this isn't just about making more money. It's about building a sustainable business that doesn't consume your life. It's about creating space for the collaborators who genuinely value what you offer. And most importantly, it's about becoming somebody who values themselves enough to expect result, enough to expect respect. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. People treat you the way you teach them to treat you. Every time you say yes when you mean no, you are teaching the world that your boundaries don't matter. And that's why you may have had the belief that nice people finish last or nice guys finish last, whatever that is for you. So you have a choice to make right now. 1, like and subscribe if you haven't done already. But 2, are you going to continue being the entrepreneur whose business serves everyone but themselves? The one who's constantly exhausted, resentful, and under-earning despite working harder than everyone else? Or are you ready to become the entrepreneur who commands respect, attracts ideal clients, and builds a business that energizes you rather than depletes you? The difference isn't just in what you do, it's in who you become. People pleasing isn't just a habit, it's an identity. And shifting that identity is where true transformation happens. So if you're serious about making a shift, I created a complete system to help entrepreneurs like you stop self-sabotaging and start scaling with confidence. So the link to my free training video is in the description. And remember, the most successful entrepreneurs aren't those who please everyone. They're those who please the right people, which includes, firstly, themselves. So your business should serve your life, not consume it. And that starts with one powerful word that might feel foreign in your tongue right now, but will soon become your greatest asset, which is no. But that said, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.